And welcome into a special breaking news edition of the Prospect Corner. I'm Matthew Zator here with Peter Baracchini. We just found out that World Juniors is canceled. Um, you know, they just started it. A few games in. Canada's 2-0. Peter, initial thoughts. I mean, this is a huge tournament for a lot of guys, and we've already saw some problems with the COVID Omicron variant. It was bound to happen, I think, as the days gone on here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously extremely disappointing because this is a tournament that everyone looks forward to. I mean, us as fans and writers, the players themselves, the teams, they train hard for this moment to represent their country. And, 4 days into the tournament, although the first 2 days it kind of looked like everything, was looking okay until we found out about the positive test involving Team USA. And then on Wednesday, the day after, you found out about a positive test involving Finland or Czech and the Czech Republic game, and then Russia and Slovakia had to be canceled due to a positive test on the Russia side. And like you mentioned, the Omicron variant, we've heard about it in the news, how more transmissible it is. Severity is still up in the air. There's still tests about that, but at the same time, I mean, you don't want to pass this off to anybody else. Yeah, there was only probably one or two cases for the U.S. and probably one each for either Czech Republic or Finland and Russia. But at the same time, what if that gets to a point where it's going to multiply even more to like 2 and then 4 and then 8 and then the whole team can't play? So I think it's best that it was the right decision, although there was a lot of breaking news about the fact that, conditions at the hotel were not met by some of the teams, and or some of the teams are complaining about the conditions at the hotel and how the standards weren't being met and they were probably in jeopardy. And that to me just screams a lot of red flags, a lot of warning signs, and ultimately led to the cancellation. So disappointing, but you know what? It was definitely the right call because things could end up being a heck of a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unfair to some of the teams that are getting having to forfeit games that the just because of the COVID stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a team country wins the gold. Is it really fair that they won it when all these other teams have problems? Like Canada hasn't had any problems, as we know, as much. They haven't had to miss games. Right, you never know. It probably was going to happen eventually. I think this is, like, I agree with you. I think this was the best thing to do right now. Is a question: Do you think it's going to be canceled, but is it getting postponed? Do you think that they'll start up again, or is it just going to be done?
I mean, the hope is you always want to see it start up again. I mean, maybe instead of like starting off where it happened or where it last left off 4 games in, maybe restart the whole tournament and give teams a fair shot. I
Yeah,
mean, it just doesn't seem fair that, Team USA, the rules are in place that if a team tests positive, the forfeit has to happen, but it just doesn't seem fair that, Team USA has to put their tournament in doubt because of one or two positive cases. Um, the fact that Russia also has to for to me it just doesn't quite make sense with the standings and how everything goes. You want everything to be fair, not have to be based on a forfeiture, because to me a forfeit is like last case scenario. If everything
yeah.
to me if everything does trend to the right direction, cases are lowered, and everything looks best case scenario, start up the tournament and even start up all the other international tournaments, including the women's U18s, which was a
Yeah.
big talking point as well for the IIHF, and they're getting a lot of heat for that, and rightfully so. But if it gets to a point where cases are low and everything seems to be steady, start the tournament up and start fresh, start anew. And even if so, some of the players that may become overagers, I'd make an exception to say whoever was on the roster before the cancellation is still going to be the same roster that you're going to play with, just because of the circumstances. It's just really different and it's really difficult. And, you know, a lot of these players, it is their last time. It is their last chance to
Yeah.
partake. And even if you're on, let's say, a lower level seeded team like Germany, Switzerland, Austria, you live for these moments. You want to play in it no matter what. And I think that's just going to be fair if they do start it up, start fresh, start anew, everyone with zero, and hope for the best. Because If it does happen, great. If not, then I guess you just gotta put a little asterisk beside it and say no champion, because last year it seemed like it was a different scenario given the fact that there were no vaccinations and everything like that. It seemed things would be different, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, well, they had a full bubble last year too, and I
Mhm.
think that was a big plan way before because the Stanley Cup playoffs did the bubble. They just kind
Yeah.
of went into that same bubble, and I think that's why it was so much easier to do. This year, not as much. It's a lot more a lot more variables that were in there. There was no bubble. The public could be kind of around. There's a lot more chance of stuff being spread, and this Omicron variant's a lot different
Yeah.
than the quote unquote normal COVID, right?
Mm-hmm. And the
So
biggest
a
and the
lot of
biggest
it, yeah.
factor was the fact that the pre-tournament games had to be postponed because of the increase in cases, and that should have sort of been a little alarm bell at that point as well.
Yeah, it should have been a red flag for sure. I
Mhm.
mean, and then just kind of snowballed from there. There's already been, we know what's happening with the NHL too, with the COVID stuff. And it's just, I kind of had a feeling it was going to trickle into the World Juniors too. And
Mhm.
unfortunately it has. And there is apparently official announcement coming. It hasn't come yet, but we've had some big names reported, so it's a pretty much of a done deal. So
Yeah.
um, we'll see if the postponement can happen. If it does get postponed, it has to happen, I think, pretty soon, because all these guys are gonna have to get, travel back to their country, and you can't have them stick around too long. So if it's gonna happen soon, or they postpone it and do it in the summer, or something like that. And hopefully this kind of dies down. But as of right now, no World Juniors. Our staff at the Hockey Writers were hard at work with all the takeaways and roster previews.
Yeah.
And of course, we had the preview show of World Juniors for Prospect Corner as well. But hard work. We'll do it again.
Yeah.
We'll do it again once it gets started up. Hopefully, it does get started up again. But thanks,
I
Peter,
mean,
for
I
joining
just
me.
want to say one quick thing. The team that we had, they really worked their tails off. I mean, they
Oh,
put in the hard work,
100%.
dedication, and everything like that. So I feel for them. Especially the week leading up, everyone busted down, and they did a heck of a job. I can't thank them enough. If everyone's watching who took part in that coverage, thank you all. Let's hope that it does restart up and we can finish what we started, because that to me was the end goal. But you know what? Again, a big thank you from everyone, and a big thank you for everyone that's tuned in as well.
Yeah, thanks. But stay tuned to the Hockey Writers. We'll be breaking anything else that happens with the World Juniors, and of course, the draft coming up as well. So thank you very much.